Hello there, this is Easy 3D. This is going to be my second YouTube tutorial in Maya 2018. Today I'm going to be talking about UVing and just doing a quick short tutorial on how the 3D cut and sew tool that was added to Maya 2018 has really drastically improved the speed and quality of your workflow in UVing. It shouldn't be something that's scary, it shouldn't be a hard process, it should be something that you know is going to take a quick short amount of time and really shouldn't be a bother at all, should actually be fun in certain situations. Now, so what we're going to do here is we're going to make a quick easy model. You notice I've got the UV editor on the right side and my scene on the left side. Now what I'm going to do with this model is just quickly play around with it, maybe just get rid of a few of the faces, just making it slightly more complex than a basic cylinder to show off the tool a little bit better, but it doesn't need to be anything fancy at all. So we can play around with this sort of thing and mainly just create something that isn't going to be super duper crazy, but what we can do is let's just poke the face there so we haven't got a giant end on. Not that it particularly matters with this process. So anyway, we've got our shape. What I'm going to be doing here is going into the UV editor and doing a planar set, just so the what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be looking at the bottom. I'm just going to be doing a camera-based UVing here. It's just to clear the UV so that we've got something completely clear to be looking at. So what we're going to be doing is using the 3D cut and sew tool that I previously mentioned, and that's going to be in the UV bar up here, and near the very bottom is going to actually be possibly, if you've still got this turned on, you'll have 3D cut and sew tool highlighted in green. Now the likelihood of you having this kind of new tools thing still turned on is unlikely, but I did it for the sake of this video. So we click here, it changes our mouse a little bit, and what this tool allows us to do is to create seams in a much quicker and easier fashion than you have been able to before. So what you can do is you can see how the lines are highlighting as the mouse hovers over them. If you were to double click on a line, it creates a entire seam along that loop. Now that obviously is a lot faster than it has been in the past, and what you can do is you can go along these seams and create edges where you want the seams to be. And now you notice how the colors are changing. Now this is from 2017 and 2018. This is the UV shell coloring scheme, which actually allows us to kind of not really look in this 2D view as often. You can visualize the sort of UV shells you're going to be creating by going, well, you know, this is going to come out as a circle. This might, if we put in a seam here, come out as a straight flat plane. Same here, we can create seams along here. Now what I'm doing there to create those individual lines is actually selecting a line, say this line here, and pressing X. So what that does is the X allows us to confirm our selection, and the great thing about this tool is how non-destructive it is. So instead of being bound into what you selected and not able to go back, if you decide that you want to turn that into a UV but maybe it was an accident, you can hold control and click on that line, and the line will go back to a non-UV seam. So what you can do now is let's say we've got these shells and we want to go in, we click on one, we click X, click another and X. Now let's say we come to this point here, and for whatever reason, let's just delete these for whatever reason, we've got an end gone here, you see. So we've got an end gone here and we've got an end gone here. Now the problem with this is if we wanted to go along these lines, if I try and double click now, you'll notice how it won't actually let us, and that's because it's not a complete seam in Maya's eyes. So what you are able to do with the tool is click, hold and drag, and that will then create a line on each time, and it's just easier than having to go into the settings and fix this anyway. Now you notice my accuracy here was pretty poor, and what it did was created a number of other UV shells. Now if you're a little bit better than me, you wouldn't have let that happen, but regardless, now that it has, you can just go in and hold control and click on every single one, and there's no problems. You can leave one seam in, and you've now got your seams where you want them, exactly how you want them. So we've got that, we've got everything we want. We can get rid of that. Everything's going to come out fine. Now currently in 3D Coat, if you were able to do this, this is a very similar system to 3D Coat. It's a much faster UVing system, but 3D Coat, as you create these seams, would automatically fix the shell on the right hand side. Now, we currently can't do that in Maya, but we can do it manually. Go back to your normal selection, you press Q for the shortcut, hold down right click, go into UV shell, and you're then able to select your shells. What's great about this is that when you click on a shell, if you just press D on the keyboard, it will then quickly unwrap it on the map. Now, this is great because what we can then do, we can go into each one, unwrap each part of the UV like so, and now whilst it hasn't done a very good layout of the UVs, it certainly has unwrapped it very well, and we can see that by checking the checkerboard patterns, and we can see that it has actually unwrapped it rather well. So if we for some reason thought that we wanted things to happen differently, like if we were happy with this for instance, and we instead wanted our UV shell to be just something like that, we can do that. And then what we can do is, obviously there's automated methods of doing this. You can play around with the UV shells as you want, but you can go in and just do layout and it will sort it out quite nicely. Now obviously this is not perfect, there's a lot of things you can edit with this, but this is a much faster UVing method than going around and manually cutting up things. Now there is a plugin available by someone called Malcolm341. He's a YouTuber as well, and he did a similar tutorial on this sort of thing. But what's great about what he did was he actually created an additional plugin which allowed you to mimic the 3D Coat auto-unwrapping as closely as possible, and he did this using the legacy system and a Mel script. So I've actually got this plugin here, and it gives you a custom shelf, and what it does is it gives you this little window, and what we can do is we can quickly plane our map, our model, and as you see, we've got no UVs again. Quickly access 3D Cut and Sew tool here, cut the model where we want to cut it. But the cool part about his plugin is it mimics the 3D Coat setup by simply clicking one button and doing all of your unwrapping for you here. Now, obviously the layout isn't perfect, it could be better, but it's certainly not too bad. You can now play around with this as much as you like. You can move shells around, obviously, as you like. You could even, if you were extremely lazy, you could do that and then play around with the UV shells as you wish. But there's a number of applications for this, but it's just a great way of quickly UVing part of your model without having to go through the whole process of pressing D on each shell. It's a really nice quick workflow, and this is the way you should be cutting up your model these days. So if you found this tutorial helpful, and if you would like to see any more tutorials on different things in Maya, please like, subscribe and comment on the video with any topics that you'd like me to cover next. I'm open to any sort of Maya Substance Painter tutorials. I will be looking at doing a kind of beginning to end modeling workflow, where I'll go from modeling a simple mesh to UVing it and sending it to Substance Painter, baking a high poly to a low poly and texturing it, all ready to send it to the renderer and see a nice render of our model. So I'm going to be doing a kind of complete walkthrough of the kind of simplest way to get that done. But for now, if you've got any ideas of simple tutorials or anything you'd like covered, then I'm more than happy to do that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.